Free TV, in association with getoutofdebtfree.org.
Okay, we're here at the BCG and I've met a chap that would like to share some information with you.
Right, my name's Sandy Steele and I stood as an independent candidate for the Cotswold constituency in 2010 and 2011, 2012. I got up really close with the party politicians, and that's the way often to find out how they mismanage and or fraud things. And what I uncovered was the systemic fraud of our elections. Obviously I uncovered it locally to start off with. And I not only know how they do it, but also I've got public documentary evidence of it. And I have a website, www.sandysteele.co.uk. Essentially, in one long paragraph, how they do it is they systematically fraud the local elections. That stops ordinary people getting involved in local politics, and that's where they get experience and a reputation and then be able to challenge people further up the system. So this is a systemic fraud. It's an entry gate fraud, stops people getting involved locally, and that protects their party politicians above. So it protects the whole oligarchy. And the way they do it is in the rural local elections, they operate undeclared parties and undeclared policies. And that enables them to covertly campaign against anyone else who's standing. And also it means that with the undeclared policies, that people get made to sign basically an illiterate's cross on a policy blank check, because none of the candidates have actually declared any policies at all. So this has been going on for decades. It's almost in plain view, really. And in the urban local elections and in the city local elections, they've supersized the wards. Now, when I say that, people don't really understand how big this supersizing of the wards electorates is and what the consequences are. But if you supersize a local election, it essentially plays into the hands of the mainstream national party politicians. So even at the local elections, it's national people who've had to join national parties who are getting in, and of course they are already under the control, the policy control of their elites in Westminster and Brussels and so on and so forth. And the size of the supersizing is amazing. So for instance, local elections in my area, in rural elections in the Cotswold constituency, they have electorates as small as 50 or a couple of hundred, whereas suddenly you go to the towns, it's 2,000 or 3,000 local elections for the electorates, and once you go to the cities, it's 5,000, 10,000, even down in Bristol there's one local election which is 15,000. Now, as soon as you've got those larger elections, what essentially happens is that the electors don't know their candidates personally. Therefore, they are coerced to vote for national party politicians because of the power of brand. So essentially, they're voting for national party politicians at a local election. That's all wrong. It's obviously fraud. And if you look at it carefully, and I've got the documentary evidence of it here in my constituency, you can see they've rigged every single local election. It's not one or a few, it's every single one. And once they've rigged all the local elections in their favour and against any other candidates, that means that they've protected all the party politicians above. And that's why the national parties dominate our politics completely. Once you allow national parties to dominate your politics, it means that someone at the top at Westminster or Brussels is controlling the policies, and that means that you have, and your local community, have completely lost power. And that's essentially what's happened in everything that we have. We have national corporates and global corporates, whereas we should have control of the community and local individual control, where we actually give our informed consent. So essentially our election system is systematically frauded, and I've looked across the country, and as I say, I have this website, www.sandysteele.co.uk, which details those frauds. Thanks very much for allowing me to make that video.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us.
I tell you what, I mean, I've got the details here. These are 76. These are 76 uncontested elections. Look how thick they are. That's where the party politicians have got together in as candidates, and let's say there are 5 seats for a local council, they'll only put up five candidates. So when there's only 5 candidates for 5 seats, there won't be a contested election. As far as most people are concerned, there isn't even an election. They just get in without a contest. That's happened in 76 of my constituency's elections. There were only 18 which were contested. So you've got 76 uncontested elections where an undeclared party has completely controlled it, so no one ever goes to the ballot, ever votes on anything, and then you've only got 18 where there were contested elections, and in those 18, they're rigged as well.
It's like Nottingham City Council. I was speaking to an independent councillor, and she was describing how the council works, Nottingham City Council, and the way she described it, I said, that sounds like a dictatorship. She said, it is.
It is complete dictatorship, and it's basically the oligarchy again. You get oligarchies in the law, you get oligarchies in the energy cartels and the public utilities.
Absolutely.
And they all collaborate at the top, so they cover each other.
Yeah.
So the legal oligarchy covers the political oligarchy, covers the energy oligarchy.
Yeah.
So they're all working together at the top because it's easy for them to do so, and we've just got to expose them.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that information, and it'll be on YouTube soon.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I mean, essentially, moving to what I suggest that we should do for this election, which is coming up on the 7th of May, the general election and the local elections, is essentially put a line through all the national party politicians and any of their local quislings as well, and just write none of the above. They are all criminal cartel under jury trial, common law jurisdiction. Because if you got the evidence that I have, and which is in plain view, if you actually go and look for it and put it in front of a jury, they'd say that's fraud, that's misleading in order to benefit, and they'd all be nailed. They would all be nailed. So don't vote for any national party politician, really, because they are all in it, and they all give up their rights to decide policies to their party political elite in return for them being promoted at the local election, and then in return for public posts. And what's that except bribery and corruption?
Absolutely.
So the whole system, the whole national party political system, is systematically corrupt, and there is an alternative. I mean, candidates should, if you stand for politics, you should actually be writing your own manifesto policies, because then the local constituents or the people in your ward can come to you and say, that's not right, and you can actually say, well, it isn't right, is it? I'll change it. Whereas if you're in a party where the policies are being decided by a national elite, you can't change the policies, so you just go blah, blah, blah at them. And also, you're being paid for it, you're being promoted for it. So it's bribery and corruption. So we've got to move away from that bribery and corruption system and the election fraud system to simply candidates who actually do sit down, we've all got to do it, and think, what do we want to do about education? What should we do about education? What should we do about health? What should we do about the public utilities? Because if we don't take control over and actually start considering what we should be doing, then obviously others are going to do it. So we've got to get local people actually deciding about all the public services, police, everything, and actually having their own manifestos, writing them out, because that's the only way to challenge them, and it's the only way to get a genuine mandate.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Debt Free TV, in association with GetOutOfDebtFree.org.